My job is to coordinate the efforts of community organisations to support the integration and settlement of immigrants and refugees here in Red Deer. In November 2016, the federal government announced that for 2017 the levels will be 300,000 immigrants and refugees total. With a booming economy in Alberta, people were migrating from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And even now, in not just this downturn, but the last downturn in 2008, immigration levels are still going up across Alberta. The issue is there aren't those jobs in the local economy. There aren't the jobs up in the oil patch. The question is, when Albertans are unemployed and they're turning around and seeing faces from different parts of the world, hearing different languages, is there that kind of growing resentment that we saw in England with the vote around Brexit and how it played out in the United States? Is there this kind of, lack of better words, this growing resentment of let's look after our own first?
You don't belong in this country. Go home. All right? Justin Trudeau is ruining this country. All right? These refugees taking all the jobs. My job, I can't.
My name is Monibani Dawan from South Sudan. I'm here today because it's Alberta Cultural Day. We'll be talking about how diverse Alberta is and what is the significance of that diversity. And because of that, 4 stories from refugee and immigrant have been selected, and mine is one of them. I'm from the mountain New York, from the Sargam and Nile Fiji. I'm from the Ata River, my father, Rocky Mother. I'm from the village. My story actually is going to start from when I was a child in a peaceful village of Atar, before all the crisis and conflict started. And then it's going to transit into a stage where the war is started. And I ran away from my family, joined the rebel army, and become a child soldier at the age of 9. How do we put this together with Canada? How do we connect it with Canada? In that regard, as I come as a migrant and a refugee in this country, we will also try to connect that. How am I received? Not me as Monibani, but me as a refugee representing all other million refugees that come to Canada. How will we receive our struggle, and how do we fit into the society?
There was the question, is there a point in time when the community is being asked to continually give a little bit more and give a little bit more? At what point, and is the point now? Have we passed that point? Is it is there an actual defining point where it's got to that tipping point that it's too much, that a community member is saying, man, I'm unemployed, and yet you're still asking me to be willing and accepting and open to give to someone coming from a different part of the world. I've got to look after me and myself and my own.
You guys see this? Okay, this guy, he's brainwashing a soldier. He's in our country. What is this? I mean, come on. It's people like you that let him into this country without even thinking about it. It'll screen these people.
My name is Ethel Suarez. I am part of the board of Central Alberta Refugee Effort.
Sir, your racist comments are unwelcome here. You can leave now or I can call the police.
There's no need to call the police. I'll take care of that.
Behind every refugee is a story. And people need to know that refugee, we don't come here because, we go to Red Deer or we go. No.
It's extremely humbling to be able to come up.
Behind us, refugee, there are a story that the people in the community need to know.
Have you guys ever been in a community where you get a feeling that you're in a space that is something different? For me, that place was Banff. As soon as I stepped out of the car, it was the physical surroundings, it was the people, the languages that were being spoken. That intangible something is what I strive to do every day in my work and to bring to the community that I now call home, which is here in Red Deer.
The community is at a point where it accepts, where it works and bridges and does all that kind of settlement and integration just naturally. The communities that do it and do it well have seen very positive rewards from that. And my move from Ontario to here, I have been blown away. In the 10 months that I've been here, I've been very positively surprised by the amount of immigrants that are here. I thought that Alberta was very conservative. That's what you hear living in Ontario, that Alberta's very conservative and it's very white, for lack of a better word.
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, fine, here goes. Because I was asked to present here, I wanted to talk briefly about something from a very personal perspective as I looked at this. I felt quite nervous. I have felt a block from, let's say, from myself mostly, to connect with people from other nations, because as a gay person, how do I begin to connect with people who already say, guess what? You're like worse than we are. So I am excited, personally, to be able to start to say, you know what, we sit around the table and we begin to talk. I begin to express this personal stuff because I would like to say, I don't want to feel blocked by these differences or my assumptions of other people's thinking or their beliefs.
That obviously have experiences with, and Red Deer's no exception to that, where there's racism and discrimination. But it's important that we recognize that there's value in all persons and that we take a stand for that. But that we don't just use our words in indicating that, but that we live by example as well. You know, on occasion you will hear concerns articulated, particularly given the challenging economic climate that we're navigating through, and people start to feel concerned about job availability, about housing costs and housing availability. But ultimately, when you look at it, Red Deerians have been very responsive. You know, I think of some of the refugee settlement crises that we've experienced. Red Deerians were so highly responsive to that, both in terms of frontline service providers, but also in terms of private citizens offering housing, offering clothing and household goods, and offering to help navigate newcomers to Red Deer in terms of their local settlement.
Outside of Manitoba, Winnipeg, she has to learn. She has to. You know, I'm very fortunate to work with one of the best company here. I mean, Nova Chemical. When we get to my office, we have people from all over the world who are engineers. So when you see people like from all over, all over the world, Africa, and Asia, and North America, and all over. So you have these people working in Central Alberta. So that one is telling you something. So we are here to help the community grow. You know, we are not here like a parasite, like you come to, you know, we were taken from abroad to come here and work because the government will look at the area where they need people. So we need doctors, we need engineers, and they say, okay, we need people to work in this. So, and I mean, look at me, I've been working since then. I've been paying my taxes, and you know, when I work with Weatherford, we can work anywhere in the world. You know, I can leave Canada now and work in Brazil or Australia. So the first thing you have to have is people skills. You have to know how the people interact with each other. So you are born here, Ruben, and you have different, the way you are brought up is quite different from somebody like me and people from Asia. So when you have people's skills, it helps you to understand that you have the same purpose. If you are working in a place, you are working towards the same goal. You'll be dealing with a lot of educated people, you'll be dealing with a lot of uneducated people. A lot of settings. Where you have a group of engineers or doctors is quite different from where you have the other groups, artisans. When you have these people's skills, you will not take a lot of things personal. The way you perceive it is quite different. You will perceive it as, oh, we are towards the same goal.
So welcome back. Welcome to the Alberta Global Talent 2017 Forum.
We're not living in isolation in pockets around the world anymore. Why would you, as a country, isolate yourself? You know, you've got international conglomerates who will send people anywhere around the world to work. So as a country, does it not make sense to have that same kind of philosophy and just bring people in and make it work?
So over the past year, the Alberta Global Talent team met many Central Alberta employers who are truly doing some great work in welcoming and retaining immigrant employees.
I've read reports around the failures of providing enough support for Somalians when they came to Canada as refugees and how that is playing out now. But then there are shining examples, like the current Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Canadian Citizenship is a Somali Canadian. As much as you can point a finger to issues that are bad, there will be examples of people, individuals, families, or a group of people that have done exceedingly well. I've been in workshops where they say the balance between how much change a person moving to a new country goes through versus how much a community changes would be around 80-20. So the accommodations, the changes that an immigrant has to make is 80%. They have to change that much and come this far down this kind of spectrum. That's in an ideal world. It's probably more 90-10, maybe even 95-5. But it is very heavy and incumbent upon an immigrant or a refugee to make changes, because this is Canada. The changes that a community or an organization or an association or a country will make is only going to be so far. And I think many immigrants understand that and come here knowing that, and will make those changes, will make those sacrifices. At the same time, it is how open and willing is a community to kind of go inwards and take a look at itself and say, maybe we can relax, maybe we can accommodate here. Just by a few subtle changes aren't going to flip the apple cart or upset the balance of nature, kind of thing.
Well, here we go.
Is it stationary?
Nope.
Oh, I go a lot faster than you can moonwalk, Ruben.
My name is Jill Bride. I am a settlement practitioner with Immigrant Youth at CARE. What are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to get more newcomers and more Canadians out skating. So we have a Learn to Skate program. This year was the 6th year that we've done it between Christmas and New Year's. This year we had about 90 youth out. So we're trying to do this every Saturday until the end of the season to get kids out, to get them playing hockey, to get them skating, and get them enjoying some of the facilities that Red Deer has.
I don't need my puffer.
When there's no ice, so at CARE, my coworker Rachel and I, we have after-school programs. Sometimes we go skiing, we're going on a winter trip, we've gone on camping trips. We also have a summer program, so 4 afternoons a week. We take the kids all over Red Deer, we take them on field trips to Lacombe, to Discovery Canyon, sometimes to Calgary. So it's a good opportunity for them to meet new friends, practice English, get to know a little bit about Red Deer, get to know about the Canadian culture and about each other's cultures.
And if I could catch him, I would have given him one to the chops.
So how does it compare to rugby?
I think so. We do surveys with the youth, and they definitely say it's a great opportunity for them to feel connected, for them to practice English, for them to make friends, and for them to learn about each other and themselves a little bit as well.
But Journeys of Hope wasn't asking people to employ. Journeys of Hope wasn't saying, choose an immigrant to fill your job vacancy. Journeys of Hope was telling the stories of 5 immigrants. If you take it very superficially, Journeys of Hope was just telling and providing a very superficial level of education around what refugees go through to come to Canada. Well, how many people in there would it be, goes back to my point, preaching to the choir. CARE and CSS and Kiowa have built up a reputation over the years and have a very solid group of supporters within the community to fill 300 seats, 200 seats. And don't get me wrong, I fully endorse it. I was a part of that. But if you want to start really getting out and changing working to change the community, at some point in time you need to be getting out there and meeting that resistance. out into the pockets of the community that aren't as open and accessible and willing to hear that, to hear about immigration, to hear about the positive aspects that a diverse community has.
Reports tonight of a massacre taking place in Srebrenica, Bosnia. Over the past 11 days, over 8,000 men and boys in this UN-designated safe haven have been executed. Our sources indicate that these men, mostly Bosnian Muslims, were executed and thrown into mass graves, while women and children from the area were transported to another location. In what is being called a well-planned ethnic genocide, the Serbian army captured the town even though it was protected by Dutch UN forces.
If we conquer what we conquer is because our effort and help others and integrate into the community.
An untimely fate and a true tale of Romeo and Juliet. Admira Ismic and Boško Brkic were a mixed Bosnian Muslim and Serbian couple. They were trying to...
There are 100 of stories. We decided to put 3 of them or 4 of them, the people that were willing to tell the story and see how we're here. We are citizens. We integrate into the community. We work as everybody else.
I took arm to fight so that I become a citizen of that country. But when I came to Canada, I wrote a test. I became Canadian, just like you.
So you had to fight to be a Sudanese citizen, even though that's where you're born, and then you come to Canada and you write a test and you're a Canadian citizen.
It's a great country, and there are rights and responsibility, which I can fulfill.
What rights and responsibilities? What does that mean?
I have a right to vote. I have a right to protect the right of others, just like I protect yours, the freedom of speech. None of us is born in this world by accident. For the last 10 years, I was thinking that my story was not valuable to anyone. Canada has a lot of resources, did not need me. But that lady reminded me that your story is good. You can tell it. And because of her, Jan Underwood, I'm here today. She is the lady that is trying to change Central Alberta to make the welcoming community. For some reason, whoever created you, there's a purpose. In fact, I'm number 9. There was 4 brothers ahead of me who actually did not make it to age of 5 or 6. I was in the same conditions of lack of health care. Why did I leave? That's a question I ask myself every single day. Probably I leave so that I can also provide help to others. There are many child soldiers in the street out there, invisible child soldiers that we don't see, but they're going through the same dramatic thing that we have went through back home where we come from, whom their family cannot be able to feed them. They struggle in putting food on the tables. They don't get job. They are even doctors from where they come from, but they start cleaning up here and driving taxis. Their children, literally their children, they're child soldiers because they end up in the street. They end up taking bad choices, and they end up getting the same experience, dramatic experience that I got when I was a child soldier. I didn't have choice, but my kid have choice not to be that. I have responsibility and duty to provide them everything they need so that they do not go back where I come from, at least mentally. I didn't know that 30 years ago, that one day in time I will be somewhere like this. In fact, I didn't know how big was the world. I thought only my world was the village. And I have seen things that no other child should have seen, and yet is still here and functioning. It is a vibrant example that anyone can do it. Anyone who's going through tough life today in Canada have any reason not to get out from it.
These people, they have something to say. They have something to offer. don't treat them so bad. Treat them well. Welcome to the, doesn't matter what culture, we are human beings. Looking for a place to live in peace, to integrate, to help the community, and work as everybody else.